Hi folks, Joseph Kursky here with you to talk about the questions concerning technology, the case for geotechnologies. Now, LM Sacasas reflects thoughtfully upon and writes about technology and society. One of Sacasas' essays in particular, in my judgment, poses some good food for thought for those of us immersed in geospatial technology. The essay entitled The Questions Concerning Technology. Seen here. These reflections and set of questions, wherein Sacasas updates his earlier post, are relevant and timely for the geotechnology community to frequently ask ourselves in our daily work. Along with these questions, it might be helpful to examine our posts on the Spatial Reserves data blog about ethics, such as teaching about ethics here and reflections on geoethics discussions here. I invite you to examine all 41 of the questions, but in particular, those that I will discuss in this video. I've included my own comments after many of the questions, with my thanks to the work that LM Sacasas is doing. First, what sort of person will the use of this technology make of me? See what I mean? Right away, a very insightful and thought-provoking question. What do I spend more time on and think about when I use GIS? And perhaps more important, what do I spend less time on? Second, what habits will the use of this technology instill? Am I talking and listening to people more or less than I was before? And am I managing the time that I'm given on this earth effectively? How will the use of this technology affect my experience of time and place? Ooh, that's a thought-provoking question, isn't it, folks? How will the use of this technology affect my experience of time and place? Since GIS is all about analyzing time and space, it only makes sense that we consider these. Plus, how will GIS affect how I interact with time and space and place? And how does my own spatio-temporal framework affect my analysis? How will the use of this technology affect how I relate to other people? This community, geospatial technology, has had several conversations around the way we communicate, now digitally and virtually, replacing much of our face-to-face interactions of the past. In addition, we have a long history of sharing, geo-mentoring, and giving back to education and beyond, I would argue. How will the use of this technology affect how I relate to the world around me? Consider the action component of work with GIS. Are we using GIS just to gain more skills and knowledge or head knowledge, or does it lead to action in myself or in others, or both? What practices will the use of this technology cultivate or displace? For example, am I getting into the field more or less than before? Am I using tangible manipulatives or other tools more or less than before? What will the use of this technology encourage me to notice or ignore? Now, some of you may remember Pickle's 1995 breakthrough book on ground truth. And on to the present day, we have long been aware of the benefits but also the limitations of GIS analyses. Are we making strides in breaking through those limitations of GIS? I would ask you. What was required of other human beings so that I might be able to use this technology? GIS people are sensitive to our impact on the planet, so this one seems to mesh well with our community. But do we think about this often? What was required of the Earth so that I might be able to use this technology? Overwhelmingly, GIS people think about the Earth all the time, so it seems like a natural fit, but this question adds a new element to our Earth considerations. How does this technology empower me? At whose expense? The GIS community, again, has in recent years become rightfully concerned about empowering those who have had not a voice in the past, using GIS and maps. Can I imagine living without this technology? Why or why not? Imagine for a moment if we had to go back to only using maps on physical media, or even the desktop-only days of GIS of the not-too-distant past. How does this technology encourage me to allocate my time? Interesting. How should we in the geospatial community spend more time on the future? Or how should we spend more time in the future? And what that leads to, what should we spend less time on? Could the resources used to acquire and use this technology be better deployed? Are we diversifying our community? Does GIS give voice to those without a voice? There are positive examples to be certain, but what else should we be doing? What possibilities for action does this technology represent or present? Is it good that these actions are now possible? I would argue that GIS has always been action-oriented, with a chief aim to build a healthier, more equitable, more safe, more resilient world. But again, are these higher goals always in mind when we use the technology? What possibilities for action does this technology foreclose? Is it good that these actions are no longer possible? We often discuss the opening of possibilities, but what about the closings? Are there any? What are they? And why do they matter? How does the use of this technology shape my vision of a good life? What are my goals for my life and my career? Am I really making a positive contribution to people and the planet? What limits does the use of this technology impose upon me? What limits does my use of this technology impose upon others? Again, more insightful questions. I may not like to think about these things, but they are important questions to ask. What assumptions about the world does the use of this technology tacitly encourage? Or our use of any set of tools and science itself is shaped by our worldviews and attitudes, correct? So this is a good thing to think about. What knowledge has the use of this technology disclosed to me about myself and about others? Is it good to have this knowledge? As a place-based and increasingly personal technology, GIS has much potential to reveal things about ourselves and others. Do you share your fitness walks and runs, for example? What else are you sharing? Maps, data, apps, and with whom? And why? What are the potential harms to myself, others, or the world that might result from my use of this technology? For more about this, see our essay about potential harm in sharing photographs. Upon what systems, technical or human, does my use of this technology depend? Are these systems just? Does using this technology require me to think more or less? To think more or less? Challenging. And I and others geoeducators are always encouraging students to think beyond the click, click, click of learning tools, to really thinking critically about your data, your methods, your objectives, and more. GIS has always been first and foremost a thinker's tool, as I point out here. What would the world be like if everyone used this technology exactly as I use it? I think of Jack Dangermond, ESRI founder, vision of GIS becoming the nervous system of the planet, enabling us to make smarter decisions. Can the consequences of my use of this technology be undone? Can I live with those consequences? Finally, can I be held responsible for the actions which this technology empowers? Would I feel better if I couldn't? These are, again, I think thoughtful questions and important questions for us to ask as the geospatial community. And again, that comes from LM Sacasas' essays about the questions concerning technologies. And my point on this is that it definitely applies to geotechnologies, and I would encourage all of us in the geospatial community to think about these questions and others. Thanks, and I look forward to hearing from you.